Welcome, brave souls, to a journey into the depths of the unknown. Gather around, for tonight we delve into the shadows, where whispers linger and fear takes shape. Prepare yourselves, for I am about to unveil 5 dread-filled stories that will chill you to the bone and send shivers down your spine. In the darkness, secrets lurk, waiting to be unearthed. Each tale is a thread in the tapestry of terror, weaving a web of suspense and dread that will haunt your dreams. So, my friends, steel your nerves and brace yourselves, for what you are about to hear will leave you trembling with fear. Let us begin our descent into the abyss of the unknown, where nightmares become reality and the darkness reigns supreme. Welcome to 5 dread-filled stories that will leave you questioning what lies beyond the veil of reality. Echoes of the Forgotten. In the heart of a desolate countryside, nestled amidst twisted trees and shrouded by an eerie mist, stood the forsaken silhouette of an ancient mansion. Its crumbling facade whispered tales of a bygone era, of opulence turned to ruin, and of a darkness that lurked within its decaying walls. This was the haunted mansion, a place of dread and despair, where the past echoed with the anguished cries of the departed. Emily and James, 2 adventurous souls drawn by curiosity's insatiable grip, dared to venture into the depths of this forsaken abode. With them, their history professor, the esteemed Professor Smith, whose thirst for knowledge outweighed any trepidation he may have harbored. Little did they know of the horrors that awaited them within those haunted halls. As they crossed the threshold into the mansion's shadowy interior, a chill swept through the air, sending shivers down their spines. The once grand foyer lay in ruins, its grandeur faded to dust and decay. Cobwebs clung to the cracked walls like specters of the past, and the faint scent of decay hung heavy in the air. "Welcome to the heart of darkness," Professor Smith murmured, his voice barely a whisper against the oppressive silence. "This mansion holds secrets untold, stories of tragedy and loss that have cursed this land for generations." Their footsteps echoed ominously as they ventured deeper into the labyrinthine corridors, their only guide the flickering light of their lanterns. Shadows danced along the walls, twisting and contorting into grotesque shapes that seemed to watch their every move. "It is said," Professor Smith continued, his voice tinged with foreboding, "that this mansion was built upon cursed land, a place where the veil between the living and the dead grows thin. Legend speaks of a family, murdered in cold blood, their restless spirits doomed to wander these halls for all eternity." Emily felt a shiver run down her spine as she listened to the professor's words. She could almost sense the presence of the vengeful spirits that lurked in the shadows, their anguished wails echoing through the empty corridors. Suddenly, a cold gust of wind swept through the room, extinguishing their lanterns and plunging them into darkness. Panic seized Emily's heart as she groped blindly in the blackness, her fingers brushing against cold, clammy stone. "Stay close," James urged, his voice trembling with fear. "We must find a way out of here before it's too late." But escape seemed impossible, as the darkness closed in around them like a suffocating shroud. Each step they took seemed to lead them deeper into the abyss, the walls closing in around them like the jaws of some unseen beast. And then, just as all hope seemed lost, they stumbled upon a hidden chamber concealed behind a tapestry, its entrance obscured by years of neglect. With trembling hands, they pushed aside the heavy fabric, revealing a room bathed in an ethereal glow. In the center of the chamber stood a spectral figure, its form translucent and shimmering like moonlight on water. It was the ghost of the murdered family, their faces twisted in agony as they reached out to the intruders with spectral hands. "Who dares disturb our eternal slumber?" the ghostly figure moaned, its voice echoing through the chamber like a chorus of tortured souls. "Begone from this place, lest you suffer the same fate as we." But Emily, James, and Professor Smith stood their ground, their hearts filled with determination in the face of unimaginable horror. For they knew that only by confronting the darkness could they hope to banish it from this world forever. With a steady voice, Professor Smith addressed the vengeful spirits, his words a beacon of light in the sea of darkness that surrounded them. "We seek only to uncover the truth," he proclaimed, "to shed light on the mysteries that have plagued this mansion for centuries. Slowly, the ghostly figures began to fade, their anguished cries silenced by the professor's words. And as the last echoes of their lamentations faded into the ether, a sense of peace descended upon the chamber, filling the air with a palpable sense of relief. As they emerged from the mansion's haunted halls, Emily, James, and Professor Smith knew that they had faced the darkness and emerged victorious. And though the memory of their encounter would haunt their dreams for years to come, they took solace in the knowledge that they had brought closure to the restless spirits that had long dwelled within those forsaken walls. For in the end, it was not fear that defined them, but courage in the face of unimaginable darkness. The story, however, did not end with their departure from the mansion, for the echoes of the forgotten lingered still, their whispers carried on the wind like a haunting melody. In the weeks that followed their encounter, Emily found herself plagued by restless dreams, visions of the mansion's spectral inhabitants haunting her every waking moment. She could hear their voices in the rustle of the leaves, their cries echoing in the depths of her mind. Desperate for answers, she turned to Professor Smith, hoping that he might shed some light on the mysteries that had consumed her thoughts. Together, they delved into the history of the mansion, scouring ancient texts and crumbling manuscripts in search of clues. What they discovered shook them to their core. Buried within the annals of time was the tragic tale of the mansion's former inhabitants, a family torn apart by jealousy and greed. It was a story of betrayal and murder, of souls bound by vengeance to the place where they had met their untimely end. Armed with this newfound knowledge, Emily and Professor Smith returned to the mansion once more, determined to lay the spirits of the past to rest. But as they stepped through the threshold, they knew that their journey would not be an easy one. The mansion seemed to have come alive in their absence, its halls alive with the whispers of the dead. Shadows danced along the walls, twisting and contorting into grotesque shapes that seemed to watch their every move. But Emily and Professor Smith pressed on, their resolve unshaken by the horrors that surrounded them. With each step, they grew closer to the truth, unraveling the mysteries that had long been hidden in the shadows. And then, in the heart of the mansion's darkest depths, they came face to face with the source of the haunting. It was the spirit of the family's patriarch, his eyes filled with an unquenchable rage as he loomed before them. "You dare to defy me?" he thundered, his voice echoing through the chamber like a clap of thunder. "You think you can banish me from this place?" But Emily stood her ground, her voice unwavering in the face of his wrath. "We seek only to bring peace to the restless souls that haunt these halls," she declared, "to free them from the torment that binds them to this place." For a moment the spirit wavered, his rage tempered by her words, and then, with a sigh that seemed to echo through the ages, he relented. "Very well," he murmured, his voice barely a whisper in the darkness. "I release you from your burden and bid you farewell." And with that, the spirit faded into the ether, his form dissolving into nothingness as if he had never been. And as the last echoes of his presence faded into the darkness, Emily and Professor Smith knew that their task was complete. As they emerged from the mansion's haunted halls, they were greeted by the first light of dawn, its golden rays banishing the shadows that had plagued them for so long. And though the memory of their ordeal would linger in their minds for years to come, they took solace in the knowledge that they had brought peace to the restless spirits that had long dwelled within those forsaken walls. For in the end it was not fear that defined them, but courage in the face of unimaginable darkness. And though the mansion stood as a silent sentinel to the horrors of the past, it was no longer haunted by the echoes of the forgotten, the curse of the whispering woods. In the heart of the dense forest, where trees stood tall and tangled, casting eerie shadows upon the forest floor, lay the whispering woods. It was a place whispered about in hushed tones, where legends of malevolent spirits and ancient curses lurked amidst the gnarled roots and twisted branches. Sarah and David, adventurous souls drawn to the mysteries of the unknown, decided to embark on a camping trip to the Whispering Woods. They were warned of its ominous reputation, but their curiosity outweighed their fears. As they ventured deeper into the woods, the air grew thick with an unsettling stillness, broken only by the faint rustle of leaves and the distant creaking of branches. Ranger Johnson, the old forest keeper, had cautioned them to stay close and heed any warnings nature might offer. But they brushed off his words as superstition. Night descended upon the forest like a shroud, enveloping them in darkness. They set up camp amidst the towering trees, the crackling fire offering a flickering beacon of warmth and light in the encroaching blackness. But as the night wore on, strange phenomena began to occur. Eerie whispers drifted through the air, carrying with them an otherworldly chill that sent shivers down their spines. Shadows danced in the firelight, taking on sinister shapes that seemed to watch their every move. Sarah and David exchanged uneasy glances, their sense of unease growing with each passing moment. They tried to dismiss the whispers as tricks of the wind, but deep down, they knew there was something more sinister at play. In the heart of the night, they heard a mournful wail echoing through the trees, a sound that chilled them to the bone. Ranger Johnson's warnings echoed in their minds, and they realized too late the gravity of their situation. Legend spoke of a witch who once roamed these woods, cursing all who dared to trespass upon her domain. It was said that her spirit lingered still, twisted and vengeful, feeding off the fear of those who wandered into her realm. Sarah and David huddled together, their hearts pounding in their chests as the forest seemed to close in around them. They knew they had to escape the whispering woods before it was too late, but the trees seemed to twist and shift, leading them deeper into the heart of darkness. They stumbled upon an ancient altar, its stones weathered and worn with age. Symbols of arcane power adorned its surface, a testament to the dark forces that held sway over the forest. It was then that they realized the true nature of their predicament. The witch's curse had ensnared them, binding them to the whispering woods for all eternity. Their screams echoed through the night, lost amidst the haunting whispers of the forest, as they became mere shadows of their former selves, forever trapped in the grasp of the malevolent spirits that dwelled within. But let us delve deeper into the tale, into the very heart of darkness that lies within the whispering woods. For the curse of this ancient forest is not easily escaped, and the horrors that dwell within its depths are beyond comprehension. Long ago, before the whispers and shadows, before the curse took hold, the whispering woods was a place of beauty and tranquility. The trees whispered secrets to the wind, and the sunlight danced through the leaves like golden threads. But all that changed with the arrival of the witch. She came from a distant land, her dark magic fueled by hatred and despair. With twisted words and foul incantations, she cursed the forest, binding it to her will for all eternity. From that day forth, the Whispering Woods became a place of nightmares, a realm of darkness where the witch's power reigned supreme. The legend of the witch's curse spread far and wide, striking fear into the hearts of all who heard it. Many brave souls attempted to break the curse, but none succeeded. Some were lost to the forest, their minds consumed by madness, while others simply vanished without a trace, swallowed up by the darkness that lurked within. Ranger Johnson was one such soul, who dared to challenge the witch's curse. For years, he patrolled the forest, keeping watch over its twisted depths and warning unwary travelers of the dangers that lay ahead. But even he could not escape the witch's grasp, and in the end, he too succumbed to the darkness. And now, Sarah and David found themselves trapped in the same nightmare, their fates intertwined with those who came before them. As they wandered through the forest, they encountered echoes of the past, fleeting glimpses of the souls who had been claimed by the curse. They stumbled upon the remains of an old cabin, its walls covered in strange symbols and arcane sigils. Inside, they found a journal belonging to a traveler who had met his end at the hands of the witch. His words spoke of unspeakable horrors, of visions that twisted the mind and nightmares that haunted the soul. But amidst the darkness there was still a glimmer of hope, for in the depths of the Whispering Woods, there lay a source of power greater than any curse, a sacred grove, hidden from sight, where the spirits of the forest dwelled. Sarah and David knew that, if they could reach the grove, they might have a chance of breaking the witch's curse and escaping the forest once and for all. With newfound determination, they pressed on, following the faint whispers that call it out to them from the shadows. But the forest seemed to conspire against them, twisting and turning in upon itself, leading them astray with false paths and hidden traps. The trees whispered lies, and the shadows whispered secrets. But still, they pressed on, driven by the hope of freedom. At long last, they stumbled upon the sacred grove, its ancient trees towering above them like guardians of old. The air shimmered with magic, and the ground pulsed with a faint energy that seemed to beckon them closer. With trembling hands, they reached out and touched the bark of the nearest tree, feeling a surge of power course through their veins. They closed their eyes and whispered the words of an ancient incantation, calling upon the spirits of the forest to aid them in their quest. And in that moment, the curse was broken. The forest trembled, and the shadows receded, leaving behind a sense of peace and tranquility that had long been forgotten. Sarah and David emerged from the grove, their hearts light with relief as they looked out upon the whispering woods, with newfound eyes. But as they made their way back to civilization, they knew that the memory of their time in the forest would haunt them forever. For the Whispering Woods was a place of darkness and despair, a realm where the witch's curse held sway over all who dared to enter its domain. And though they had escaped its grasp, they knew that others would not be so lucky. For the Whispering Woods was a place of secrets and shadows, a realm where the true horrors of the world lay hidden beneath the surface, waiting to claim the unwary and the unwise. The shadows of the forgotten. In the heart of the city, where the neon lights flickered like distant stars, and the urban alleyways breathed whispers of forgotten tales, there lurked a darkness that few dared to confront. Among the labyrinthine alleys, where shadows danced in eerie waltz, there existed a presence, a figure veiled in mystery and cloaked in shadows. The shadowy figure. Alex and Lisa, two adventurous souls with a penchant for the obscure, found themselves entangled in a web of terror spun by this enigmatic entity. Little did they know, their curiosity would lead them down a path darker than the night itself. It was a chill evening when Alex and Lisa wandered into the heart of the city, the urban jungle that thrived with life by day but harbored secrets untold by night. As they strolled through the dimly lit alleys, the air grew thick with an ominous aura, and the streets seemed to whisper tales of long-forgotten horrors. Suddenly, amidst the oppressive silence, they caught a glimpse of movement, a fleeting shadow darting between the alleyways. Lisa's heart skipped a beat, and Alex's curiosity piqued as they followed the elusive figure deeper into the labyrinth of shadows. The streets grew narrower, the buildings towering like monoliths above them, casting elongated shadows that seemed to reach out with spectral fingers. It was in this sinister backdrop that they finally stumbled upon the source of their curiosity, the shadowy figure. It stood motionless, shrouded in darkness, its form indistinct and elusive. Alex and Lisa exchanged nervous glances, their minds plagued by a sense of impending doom. But the allure of the unknown proved too strong to resist, and they pressed on, drawn inexorably towards the enigmatic entity. With each step they took, the air grew colder, the darkness thicker, until they found themselves standing before the figure, its presence looming over them like a specter from the depths of their darkest nightmares. What are you?" Alex's voice trembled, barely audible above the ominous whispers that echoed through the alleyways. The figure remained silent, its gaze piercing through the darkness like twin orbs of malevolence. And then, with a voice as cold as the grave, it spoke, sending shivers down their spines. "I am but a reflection of your deepest fears, a shadow born from the darkness that dwells within us all." Alex and Lisa exchanged a horrified glance, realizing the true nature of the entity before them. It was a manifestation of fear itself, a shadowy presence that fed on the terror of those who dared to cross its path. But their encounter with the shadowy figure was only the beginning of their descent into madness. As they delved deeper into the mysteries of the city, they uncovered a tangled web of lies and deceit, all linked to an unsolved murder case that had long been forgotten by the passage of time. Detective Harris, a seasoned investigator, haunted by the ghosts of his past, joined forces with Alex and Lisa in their quest for the truth. Together they peeled back the layers of deception, following the trail of breadcrumbs that led them ever closer to the heart of darkness. But with each revelation came a new horror, a revelation more terrifying than the last. They discovered that the shadowy figure was not merely a figment of their imagination, but a tangible presence, a malevolent entity that had lingered in the shadows since time immemorial. And as they delved deeper into the heart of darkness, they realized the true extent of their peril. For the shadowy figure was not content with merely feeding on their fear. It hungered for their souls. In a final showdown that echoed through the alleyways of the city, Alex, Lisa, and Detective Harris confronted the shadowy figure, their courage tested to its limits. With every ounce of strength they possessed, they fought against the darkness, determined to banish the malevolent entity, once and for all. But in the end, it wasn't brute force that vanquished the shadowy presence. It was the power of their faith, their unwavering belief in the light that dwelled within them, that ultimately triumphed over the darkness. And as the first rays of dawn broke through the night sky, bathing the city in a golden glow, Alex, Lisa, and Detective Harris emerged victorious, their souls unblemished by the taint of fear. But though the shadowy figure had been banished from the alleys of the city, its presence lingered still, a reminder of the darkness that lurked within us all. And as Alex, Lisa, and Detective Harris walked away from the scene of their final battle, they knew that their ordeal was far from over. For in a world where shadows danced with malevolence and fear lurked in every corner, the battle between light and darkness would forever rage on, a timeless struggle that would test the courage of even the bravest souls. And as the sun rose higher in the sky, casting its warm embrace upon the city, Alex, Lisa, and Detective Harris knew that they would face whatever darkness may come, armed with nothing but their courage and the light that burned within their hearts. For in the end, it wasn't the shadows that defined them, but the strength they found in facing them head-on, together, as one. The haunting of Gallery Manor. In the heart of the city stood an old mansion, its grandeur long faded into obscurity. Once a symbol of opulence, it had now been repurposed into a gallery, showcasing the works of both renowned and obscure artists. The building itself whispered of secrets buried within its walls, secrets that echoed through the halls like ghostly murmurs. Samantha and Michael, two intrepid souls drawn to the macabre, found themselves wandering the winding corridors of the gallery one dreary evening. They were lovers of art, but their tastes leaned towards the darker, more enigmatic side of creativity. As they roamed the dimly lit rooms, their eyes fell upon a painting that seemed to beckon to them from across the hall. It hung there, shrouded in shadows, its surface a maelstrom of colors that seemed to dance in the faint light. It was a portrait of a woman, her eyes hauntingly beautiful, yet filled with a sorrow that chilled the marrow in one's bones. The plaque beneath the painting read, "The Cursed Painting by the mysterious artist known only as Thorn." Intrigued by the aura of foreboding that surrounded the painting, Samantha and Michael approached it cautiously. As they drew nearer, a chill crept into the air, causing goosebumps to rise on their skin. "It's mesmerizing," Samantha whispered, her voice barely audible over the creaking of the floorboards beneath their feet. Michael nodded, his gaze transfixed by the haunting visage before them. "But there's something off about it," he murmured, his brow furrowing in concern. Little did they know they were not alone in their fascination with the cursed painting. Behind them, hidden in the shadows, lurked art collector Thompson, a man driven by greed and a lust for power. He had heard whispers of the painting's dark history, and had come seeking to add it to his collection at any cost. As Samantha and Michael lingered before the painting, oblivious to the danger that lurked in the darkness, the air grew thick with an unnatural energy. The very walls seemed to pulse with a malevolent force, as if the house itself were alive and hungry for souls. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the room, chilling them to the core. "You should not have come here," it whispered, its tone dripping with malice. Samantha and Michael spun around, their hearts pounding in their chests. But there was no one to be seen. Only the empty expanse of the gallery stretched out before them, filled with shadows that seemed to dance and twist with a life of their own. "We need to leave," Samantha said, her voice trembling with fear. But before they could make their escape, a figure emerged from the darkness, stepping into the dim light cast by the painting. It was art collector Thompson, his eyes gleaming with a manic intensity as he gazed upon the cursed masterpiece. "You fools," he spat, his voice dripping with contempt. "You think you can simply walk away from this? The power within this painting is beyond your comprehension." With a wicked grin, Thompson reached out and touched the surface of the painting, his fingers tracing the outline of the woman's face. In an instant, the room was engulfed in a swirling vortex of darkness, pulling Samantha, Michael, and Thompson into its grasp. When they opened their eyes, they found themselves standing in a realm of pure darkness, the only light emanating from the cursed painting that hung before them. And within that light, they saw her. The woman from the painting, her eyes blazing with an otherworldly fire. "I am Thorn," she said, her voice echoing through the void, "and you have trespassed upon my domain." Samantha and Michael watched in horror as Thorn revealed the truth behind the painting's curse. Long ago, she had been a talented artist, but her gift had come with a terrible price. In a fit of jealousy, she had made a deal with a malevolent spirit, trading her soul for fame and fortune. But the spirit had betrayed her, trapping her essence within the painting for all eternity. And now, anyone who dared to gaze upon her cursed masterpiece would be drawn into her world, doomed to suffer alongside her for all eternity. As Thorn spoke, art collector Thompson's greed turned to fear, his once bold demeanor crumbling before the overwhelming power of the cursed painting. But it was too late for him. His fate was sealed, his soul forever bound to the darkness. But Samantha and Michael refused to surrender to despair. With a courage born of desperation, they confronted Thorn, pleading for their freedom. To their astonishment, Thorn's gaze softened, and she revealed to them the key to breaking the curse, a selfless act of sacrifice that would free her from her prison and allow them to return to the world of the living. With no hesitation, Samantha and Michael offered themselves up as vessels for Thorn's spirit, willingly taking her place within the painting and condemning themselves to an eternity of torment. And as they disappeared into the swirling darkness, the cursed painting fell silent once more, its secrets buried within its depths for all time. And in the gallery above, art collector Thompson's screams echoed through the empty halls, a warning to all who would dare to tread where they did not belong. The Forgotten Mine. In the heart of a dense forest shrouded by a perpetual mist lay the Forgotten Mine. Its entrance, obscured by tangled vines and overgrown foliage, seemed to whisper tales of the past. Tom and Rebecca, drawn by curiosity and a thirst for adventure, dared to tread into its depths, heedless of the warnings that echoed through the surrounding woods. Tom, a young man with a wild mop of hair and an insatiable curiosity, had always been drawn to the allure of the unknown. Rebecca, his steadfast companion with fiery red hair and an adventurous spirit, shared his thirst for adventure. Together they were an unstoppable force, ready to brave whatever dangers lay ahead. As they stepped into the gloom of the abandoned mine, a chill crept down their spines, and the air grew heavy with the weight of forgotten memories. The only sound was the faint drip of water, echoing like the slow beating of a distant heart. The dim light from their lantern cast long, twisting shadows on the walls, giving life to the eerie stillness that enveloped them. They pressed on, their footsteps echoing off the walls like whispers in the dark. Every step forward felt like a step deeper into the unknown, into a world where time itself seemed to stand still. It was as if the mine held its breath, waiting for them to unlock its secrets. But as they delved further into the darkness, they disturbed something long dormant, something that should have remained undisturbed. The ghostly apparitions of miners, their faces twisted in agony, emerged from the shadows, their eyes burning with a furious intensity. Tom and Rebecca froze, their hearts pounding in their chests as the spectral figures closed in around them. They could feel the weight of their presence, heavy and suffocating, as if the very air had turned to lead. We shouldn't have come here," Rebecca whispered, her voice barely audible above the echoing footsteps of the ghostly miners. But it was too late. The spirits, consumed by a thirst for vengeance, reached out with spectral hands, their touch like ice against Tom and Rebecca's skin. They could feel the anger, the pain, the despair of those who had perished in the depths of the mine, trapped for eternity in a world between worlds. Driven by fear and desperation, Tom and Rebecca stumbled backwards, their lantern flickering in the darkness. They had awoken something ancient, something that should have remained buried in the depths of the earth. As they ran, their footsteps echoing off the walls like the desperate pleas of the damned, they could feel the eyes of the ghostly miners burning into their backs, their rage following them like a shadow. Outside, they emerged into the cool night air, gasping for breath as if they had escaped the very jaws of death itself. But even as they fled into the safety of the forest, they could still hear the echoes of the past, the cries of the lost souls who roamed the forgotten mine. Their voices carried on the wind like a warning to all who dared to trespass on their domain. And so the mine remained as it had always been, a silent sentinel in the heart of the forest, its secrets buried deep within its depths, waiting for the next unsuspecting soul to awaken the echoes of the past. Tom and Rebecca stumbled through the underbrush, their hearts pounding in their chests, their minds reeling from the horrors they had witnessed in the abandoned mine. They had thought themselves brave, adventurers seeking thrills in the unknown, but now they knew the true meaning of fear. "We have to warn the others," Rebecca said, her voice trembling with urgency. "We have to make sure no one else goes near that mine." Tom nodded, his eyes darting nervously to the dark trees that loomed around them. "But who would believe us, Rebecca? Who would believe that we saw ghosts?" Rebecca shook her head, her red hair catching the moonlight like flames in the darkness. "It doesn't matter, Tom. We have to try. We have to do everything we can to keep others from suffering the same fate." With that, they set off through the forest, their lantern casting a feeble light in the enveloping darkness. Every shadow seemed to hold a hidden menace, every rustle of leaves sending shivers down their spines. But they pressed on, driven by a sense of duty and the desperate hope of preventing further tragedy. It was well past midnight when they finally stumbled into the small village that lay at the edge of the forest. The streets were deserted, the houses dark and silent, as if the whole village had been abandoned to the night. "We have to find someone, Tom," Rebecca said, her voice urgent. "We have to find someone who will listen to us." But as they knocked on doors and called out into the night, they were met only with silence. It seemed as if the village had been deserted, as if the whole world had turned its back on them. And then, just as they were about to give up hope, a light appeared in the distance, flickering like a beacon in the darkness. With renewed determination, they hurried towards it, their hearts pounding in anticipation. The light led them to a small cottage nestled at the edge of the village, its windows glowing with warm, inviting light. As they approached, a figure emerged from the shadows, a tall, gaunt man with deep lines etched into his weathered face. "Who goes there?" he called out, his voice gruff with suspicion. Tom stepped forward, his hands raised in a gesture of peace. "Please, sir, we need your help. Something terrible has happened in the forest. Something beyond belief." The man regarded them with a steely gaze, his eyes narrowing in suspicion. "What kind of nonsense is this? What are you doing out here in the middle of the night?" Rebecca stepped forward, her voice trembling with urgency. "We were exploring the abandoned mine in the forest, sir. We saw something terrible. Ghosts, sir. Ghosts of miners who died long ago." The man's eyes widened in surprise, and for a moment Tom and Rebecca thought they saw a flicker of fear in his gaze. But then it was gone, replaced by a cold, calculating look. "Ghosts, you say?" he said, his voice low and measured. "And why should I believe such a fantastic tale?" Tom swallowed hard, his throat dry with fear. "Because it's true, sir. We saw them with our own eyes. They're trapped in the mine, sir, consumed by a thirst for vengeance." The man regarded them for a long moment, his expression unreadable. And then, to their surprise, he nodded, his lips pressed into a thin line. "Very well," he said, his voice low and gruff. "Follow me." With that, he turned and led them into the cottage, his footsteps heavy on the creaking floorboards. Tom and Rebecca exchanged a nervous glance, unsure of what to expect. Inside, the cottage was warm and inviting, the air thick with the scent of wood smoke and herbs. The man motioned for them to take a seat at the rough-hewn table, his eyes studying them with a piercing intensity. "Now," he said, his voice low and grave, "tell me everything you know about these ghosts." And so Tom and Rebecca told their story, recounting every detail of their harrowing encounter in the abandoned mine. They spoke of the ghostly apparitions that had emerged from the darkness, of the chilling touch of their icy hands, of the rage and despair that seemed to emanate from their very souls. The man listened in silence, his face impassive as he absorbed their tale, and when they had finished, he leaned back in his chair, his eyes distant as if lost in thought. "You've stumbled upon something dangerous, children," he said, his voice grave. "Something that should have remained buried in the depths of the earth." Tom and Rebecca exchanged a nervous glance, unsure of what he meant. "What do you mean, sir?" Tom asked, his voice trembling with fear. The man regarded them with a solemn expression. Long ago, there was a tragedy in the mine, a terrible accident that claimed the lives of many miners. It's said that their spirits still haunt the depths, trapped between this world and the next. Tom and Rebecca's blood ran cold at his words, the full weight of the danger they faced sinking in. "Is there anything we can do, sir?" Rebecca asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The man nodded, his eyes grave. "There may be a way to lay their souls to rest, but it won't be easy. It will require courage and sacrifice, and a deep understanding of the forces at play." Tom and Rebecca exchanged a determined glance, their resolve hardening with each passing moment. "We'll do whatever it takes, sir," Tom said, his voice firm. "We can't let those spirits continue to haunt the mine." The man nodded, a hint of admiration in his gaze. "Very well, then. We'll need to prepare to gather what we need for the ritual. But know this, children, the path ahead will be fraught with danger. You must tread carefully, for the spirits of the mine are not easily appeased." With that, he rose from the table, his form looming tall and imposing in the dim light of the cottage. "Come," he said, his voice low and commanding. "We have much to do." And so Tom and Rebecca found themselves drawn into a world of ancient rituals and forgotten lore, their minds filled with the weight of the task that lay ahead. But as they followed the man into the darkness, they knew that they could not turn back, that they were the only hope for laying to rest the spirits of the forgotten mine.